Well, the Washington Post has been tracking all of the president's falsehoods since taking office in January. And last week it reported that Trump makes an average of 5.5 false or misleading claims a day and is on track to reach 1,999 claims by the end of his first year in office. Well, here are a few of his favorite, most repeated claims. Let's watch.
I have to say, the whole Russian thing is what it's turned out to be. This was the Democrats coming up with an excuse for losing an election. The whole Russian thing was an excuse for the Democrats losing the election, and it turns out to be just one excuse. Obamacare is a disaster. It's virtually dead. As far as I'm concerned, it really is dead, and I predicted that a long time ago. President Obama, after a long period of time, was able to finally push it through, but push through something that's now failed. Really failing badly. So the insurance companies have made a fortune with Obamacare, an absolute fortune. Obamacare is a wreck. It's a mess. It's destroying lives. Obamacare is finished. It's dead. It's gone. It's no longer, you shouldn't even mention, it's gone. There is no such thing as Obamacare anymore. We're the highest tax country in the world. We are having not only reform, we're having the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. We're working to give the American people a giant tax cut for Christmas. We are giving them a big, beautiful Christmas present in the form of a tremendous tax cut. It will be the biggest cut in the history of our country.
We're back now with our panel, Shannon Pettypiece, Dana Milbank, and Jason Johnson. Jason, this end, from your end, why does he do this? Does it matter? Does truth matter? On one hand, it said you're entitled to your own opinion, not your own facts, but he has his own facts.
He has his own facts, but also we're in a unique place as far as his support base. He has a support base that is absolutely convinced that no matter what Trump says, that his intentions to do it are more important than if he accomplishes it. And almost no politician has ever had that much elasticity. He can say, I want to do this, and no matter what he doesn't accomplish, his supporters are like, hey, he tried, but Congress stood in his way.
But he does have a Greek chorus. He has Fox and Friends. He's got Hannity at night. He does have people, Laura Ingraham. They tend to say, yeah. Well, amen. Most of the time.
He's operating within that echo chamber. And I also think it's true that it's not clear to me that he knows that the things he's saying are not true. Like, he seems to believe that whatever the last thing.
Did he believe Obama was an illegal immigrant?
Who knows what's actually
going on? Well, I'm asking you. You said you think he might believe it. Did he believe that?
The guy who wrote his autobiography with him says he's a guy who seems to believe that whatever he says is true, or at least ought to be true. And I think that's why in our Washington Post count, you see there were 50 different lies or falsehoods that he said more than 30 times a piece. So it's just part of the program. It's what he does.
Down south they say it'd like to rain. Yeah. He'd like the rain. I just think he'd like it to be the truth. It's like, how do we know what he'd like to believe? I mean, I think he says things in his own interest. He could sell a car that was a junker, a lemon, and tell you this is the best car that was ever on wheels. Right. He could sell a house like that.
It's a salesman.
But I think it's the salesman. It's the overstatement. The claim that is only in his interest to make. It has nothing to do with the truth.
Right. And one that kind of stuck with me from his real estate days was he used to say he was the biggest real estate developer in New York, when he knew that wasn't the case. And it was almost bizarre because one of his closest friends, Richard Lafrac, was a much bigger real estate developer in New York. I mean,
Mort Zuckerman. There are a lot of bigger guys than him.
He would go around saying that he was a bigger real estate developer than one of his closest friends.
They laugh at him when you bring it up with these guys.
So I think some of it's marketing, but to Dana's point too, I think sometimes his staff has spun it and twisted it in a way that it was the biggest inauguration.
I think he's like Liberace was the world's greatest pianist. Anyway, the president has also exaggerated how great his presidency has been. No surprise there. Let's watch.
There has never been a presidency that's done so much in such a short period of time. We're unleashing a new era of American prosperity, perhaps like we've never seen before. We had the biggest audience in the history of inaugural speeches. In the last 10 months, we have followed through on one promise after another. I didn't have a schedule, but if I did have a schedule, I would say we are substantially ahead of schedule.
I don't have a schedule. But if I did have a schedule, that would be also better than anybody else's. You wonder what this guy's golf card looks like when he's, his game. Oh, see how I did. 3, 2, 1.
Right. Well,
And he grades himself along the way, too.
Yeah.
And he gets an A+ for everything, including the response to the hurricane.
Is he a part of our new culture? Everybody gets a trophy.
right. Well,
Starting with me, for being me.
Someone gave me the advice once on your, annual performance review. Don't ever be objective about, well, I really could have done better. I did great. I was the best. I'm a number 10. I'm outperforming all my expectations. Just why not? Why not say you're doing it? Why
I don't
not?
get it, but I think this bombastic P.T. Barnum part of his personality is all part of his. He's his own advanced man, his own up man, they used to say in Massachusetts. The guy who says the governor's here. He says Donald Trump is here.
He's pretended to be his own PR guy. Remember the John Berman or whatever it is? I mean, he does this, but also what he has perfected, and again, his supporters believe it, and Republicans, even if they don't believe it, they go along with it, is whenever something doesn't turn out to be what he wants, it's not his fault. Right? I did this. Congress stood in my way. I had this.
I bet there are people watching right now saying, why are you laughing about this guy? So there's a part of it that is comic as well as tragic. There's it is ludicrous, his behavior. And the only way you're going to react to it is tighten your knee and go, I'm so mad about it. Because you can't be constantly mad about a clownish act. Anyway, the New York Times has meticulously examined President Trump's personal Twitter account to make a list of all the people, places, and things that Trump has insulted on Twitter, projecting he's on track to reach 650 by the end of his first term. Please, how about just term, okay? He hit nearly all his favorite targets in one tweet 2 weeks ago. Quote, does the fake news media remember when crooked Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, was begging Russia to be our friend with the misspelled reset button? Obama tried also, but he had zero chemistry with Putin.
Why aren't the NFL players hashtag stand for our anthem? How did you miss the NFL players in that too?
Yeah.
I think the greatest tragedy of Twitter going to 280 characters is he's doubled our chances of going to war. The fact that the president has
6:30 in the morning he starts.
And the tendency.
You know when he gets the Post in the morning, the Washington Post? The Times tells me that they get it like 6:30 in the morning, and that's when he begins.
Well, you can tell when he's watching TV and when he's reading the newspaper, because that's when he starts the
But he doesn't watch
Twitter
much
operation.
television, he said.
Right.
Well, and of course, like everything else he has said, that is 100% true.